Do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself, a brief introduction, 3 to 5 sentences about yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'm Phil Salter. I'm CTO of Genesis Digital Assets. I've been kind of mining for a long time now. I've been doing it professionally since 2014, and before then a little bit personally. Otherwise, I have a background in programming, like business software, database stuff. So I don't know. I think everyone that came into the industry came from some kind of different area. No one comes from the mining area, obviously, and yeah, so I come from the software world.
Cool. And what was so that was your background before getting into mining. So how did you actually get into mining? What was the introduction to mining for you? What was the first time you heard about it, got into it?
My introduction to mining was actually home mining on my own in 2011, I believe. Yeah, I had a GTX. What was it? A 970. Yeah, the GTX 970. It was pretty good for gaming back in the day. It could play Crysis, but back then NVIDIA was really not as good as mining as AMD was. So I was mining. I was doing my best. I forget how many killer hashes I was mining. I was mining Bitcoin back then. I was even mining Bitcoin, not even Ethereum or anything. And it wasn't worth it. But in the end, I still wish I kept the one coin that I actually mined in my home mine.
How long did it take you to mine that one coin with the GPU?
I was mining non-stop for half a year. And it was worth, I think Bitcoin was worth $1 back then. So it was complete waste of my parents' power resources. But now I wish that I kept it, I suppose, yeah.
How much was Bitcoin at the time?
Around $1. Bitcoin was around $1. And but I think it was just around the time where like GPU mining was already quite serious. So I, with my NVIDIA card, didn't have much of a chance against the AMD guys. And it was also like just getting into the dawn of the ASICs. I was getting closer to it at least. So I was not mining in the best time for making some money.
And how did you hear about Bitcoin? Like, what was your first time hearing about it or getting exposed to it?
I got connected to Bitcoin actually, also 2011. And it's because I was like, I was in university and really interested in like decentralized technologies and like how I was actually researching how torrents work, file sharing, where there's no central server, but everyone's sending each other the files. And I was checking out like how that works. I was trying to understand it, and I was reading through some forums and someone compared it to Bitcoin and saying, okay, there's other things you can do with a similar idea. You can do, for example, there's Bitcoin. I was like, what's this? So after some clicking around, that's how I actually got connected to Bitcoin.
What did you think of Bitcoin when you first heard about it? Did you think like it was gonna still be here like 10 years later, or it was just like a fad kind of thing?
I'm not going to pretend to be the big visionary that saw instantly how amazing it is and instantly put all his money into it and said this is the new, this is going to be your job for the next 10 years. Definitely not. Like I just thought it was interesting that there was money out there. I was comparing it to PayPal or whatever, and only after like the price started rising and I was watching it and I had to, and noticed what I'd missed. There was a hype from $1 to $16, and I was like, oh god, like it's over. This would have been the chance. So and after that, I got more interested, reading more articles, like checking out the white paper, for example, and reading it several times to get into the idea of how all this decentralized technology and these blockchains work. And I got more and more interested. Yeah.
Cool. I wish I heard about it like that early. I heard about it until like 2017. It was like already $20,000 or whatever at the time. That's when I first got into it. But yeah, it's cool. So you operate the mining facility there in where exactly is it?
Right. So we actually operate many mining facilities like around the world. We're in different places. We've kind of been everywhere now. We've been mining for since 2013, and I joined 2014. So like I was one of the early members of the Genesis. Of the Genesis, and we've been everywhere. Like we got really known for the farms that we were operating in Iceland and also Sweden, but we've also been, we've been everywhere. America, China, you can't get away from China. I've had some experience in China, and then like Central Asia. There's some really great regions. We've seen it all, and so my job is kind of focused around kind of keeping all the operations running and trying to, from a central point, trying to coordinate them all. So even though I'd love to be in the farms myself more, unfortunately, I'm not actually in the data centers all that much. When I am, I try to take videos and photos and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's a typical day look like for you, like start to finish?
Yeah, it's actually nothing too special. I've got an office job. You can see I'm in my beautiful home office here at home. It's been the same for like a year. I've done some travels here and there, but my usual day starts kind of without getting out of bed, just like still typing on the phone in the bed, because like the farms are around the world, right? So kind of people write to me in all time zones. So I try to keep my phone even on the night. Don't make it too quiet in case it's something really important that I still wake up. But my girlfriend has now vetoed that one. But I at least wake up early and try to check all the messages quickly to see if there was something important, and maybe get another half hour of sleep in, and then kind of sit in front, like sit here basically, and just like see how all the different farms are going, right? So a big part of my job is to gather the data and to analyze all the data and provide that to the other teams, like the IT team or the operations team or management or all the different teams, so they all actually have the same view on the farm, like they all actually see what's going on, right? To give them some visibility. So I'm mostly working on this data, consolidating it, having my team do, different analytics on the data, reports, audits, all this kind of stuff, and then of course, while all that machine is like always constantly running and keeping everyone updated on what's going on, then of course we always try to, always trying to get some research in and a bit of like reading and just being involved in the mining community, because that's so important. We're not in the business that's been established for 10, 15 years and it's just a day-to-day standard job. No, there's constantly changes happening. New miners releasing, shipment schedules, chip shortages. There's the story of 2021, right? Chip shortage. All these price crashes and increases. You've got to be always on top of it to make sure that you're making yourself ready for tomorrow. So
Yeah.
that's all part of my job.
And being a seasoned veteran as you are, how does the deep price fluctuations affect your operations there? Like for example, like yesterday or the last 2 days, like we had like a 40% crash or whatever, right? And then everything looks like it's recovering right now. So how does that affect you in terms of operations and how you operate things?
Yes, that's a really good question. A really important point to note for that is that we're not like, mining is not as directly correlated to the Bitcoin price as, for example, like trading, right? When there's a strong price movement, everyone goes crazy and starts trading, probably losing money actually, but still trading. For mining, it's much more stable, right? The whole idea is to keep your hash rate up, to put all this hash rate into the network continuously, and to plan for events in the future. You can't, if you've got a 50 megawatt farm, you're not going to be turning it on and off every day to adjust to something. That would lead to too much fluctuation, and the machines don't like to be changed all the time. It's better to just keep them stable. So when the price changes, that doesn't immediately affect the operation at all. If the price drops enough, you might need to do adjustments to improve your profitability. For example, you can downclock the machines to increase the efficiency of them. So there's some adaptations you can do to the price, but otherwise you try to keep it stable. And you can't react too quickly because you can't change your power contracts in a day or two.
Right.
You could do end of the month or something. So
Yeah.
it's more about keeping the long-term picture and about mining a steady amount of Bitcoin over time. And as a miner, you also really have to believe in the Bitcoin price to at least stay stable in the long term or to increase, right? Because you're doing a huge capital expenditure, like you're spending millions and millions of dollars on this new equipment, and it only arrives like 6 months or a year later at the current market. So you got to plan ahead that far, and then you got to mine with it consistently without it like breaking too much or having too many, downtimes for power loss reasons or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's really a long-term, heavy industry business. You can't just like start and stop it.
Yeah, it's a lot of upfront investment too, with the hardware and just all the energy that it takes. Which kind of brings me to my next question. So, seeing as you were mining Bitcoin much earlier, like years earlier, how does the price fluctuations kind of affect how you pay for your employees, your expenses, and everything in fiat? So is there like do you guys cash out your Bitcoin to fiat every month or like every year, like when the price is higher? How does that work as a mining facility?
Yeah, so usually when we do forecasts for like, how long will it take for this machine to pay itself back, or like how much money can we make this year or whatever, then I think it's usually a good idea as a miner to calculate everything in fiat, like let's say US dollars, right? So it's usually a good idea because that way you got a relation that you can also your expenditure, what you're spending for the machines. This is also in dollars, right? So you want to be calculating the mining revenue that the miner brings you back. You want to calculate that in dollars also. And then this way you can show like, the miner will slowly pay itself back at some point, and at some point you're at break even. So that's nice for these kind of future estimations and so on. However, like we're believers in Bitcoin, and if we wouldn't be believers in Bitcoin, we wouldn't be mining Bitcoin. So the risk that's difficult to assess otherwise. So we actually try to keep as many Bitcoin as possible. We mine it in order to accumulate coins. So we see mining as an alternative to buying coins, and our investors they buy into mining as a risk mitigation against just putting all your money into Bitcoin like today.
Yeah.
It's better to make an investment and then have it slowly accumulate coins over a couple of years. So that's the way that we're doing it. Of course, you need to have like some risk management, right? Like in case the Bitcoin price crashes, like it did yesterday, for example, a bit, you don't want to be in a position where you're forced to sell coins at a low price.
Exactly.
So you'll be accumulating coins, and then whenever the price is like good or there's like a price spike, or whatever, you'll want to be selling a little bit, like as a trading tactic, in order to minimize the amount of coins that you spend. Sure, but still, the underlying value proposition is your expenses and your costs are always in dollars, so you gotta go way to reconcile that.
Well, yeah, I was always curious about that because I imagine there's some regret, like if you sell too early, like when it's too low. Yeah.
We were mining Ethereum on day one when it launched. We did an all-nighter because we were mining X11 Dash before Ethereum. Before Ethereum launched in 2015. We were mining it, and then the Ethereum software came out, and we were hacking away. We were sitting in Iceland, actually, in a small office in Iceland, and we were hacking away trying to reconfigure the whole mining farm to mine Ethereum directly when it launches, and it was hard. But you can imagine back then, we actually managed to mine Ethereum on day one. We had like a huge percent of the network.
Yeah.
We were a big player. And especially the first days when others were still struggling to get mining, we were already mining flat out, just going for it, right? I don't even want to know how many coins we mined. We mined a huge amount of coins, but they were worth nothing back then.
Yeah.
So if you're selling the coins then to pay for your power nowadays, you don't want to, it's going to be the most expensive power bill.
Yeah, that must sting to think about. Actually, so do you guys, how much of the mining operations do you dedicate to Ethereum versus like Bitcoin? So like ASIC mining versus GPU mining. How do you guys kind of split that up?
Yeah, so historically, we started off as pure GPU in 2013 and 14, but then we got more and more ASICs because like Bitcoin ASICs, I should say, because Bitcoin is just the biggest market. And if you're thinking about this whole industry in the long term, the most stable bet is always beat Bitcoin. Maybe not the most profitable, maybe, because you can get lucky and just multiply your money with some altcoin, but Bitcoin is really the underlying interesting thing. And if you are working with customers, and as we did in the past, and as also if you're working with investors that maybe they're interested in the crypto idea, they want to get into it, but they don't want to go on with like even more higher risk than they already see. They see already Bitcoin as a huge risk. So try to sell to them to buy something with 10 times more risk. They're not going to go for it. So they've got their investors or their shareholders or whatever that they have to explain the decision, and they say, oh, we've decided to mine, Mooncoin or something. They're going to be like, what? Yeah. So having a really strong position in Bitcoin, I think is really important. I think it's the least risky strategy. You can plan the most long term because you know how the life cycle of Bitcoin is going to be. You know how the life cycles of the ASICs are going to be. You know there won't be an ASIC released tomorrow that has like 10 times higher hash rate because we're like at the peak of technological innovation on the chip level. Like Bitcoin mining is at the same level as like, I don't know, NVIDIA, Intel, Apple, and all the others that are producing chips of the highest quality. So nothing that's significantly better is going to come out tomorrow. So it's the best investment you can do. However, of course, it would be stupid to close your eyes away from all the other opportunities you might see in the market. right? As a long-term industrial scale miner, we have the price models and like the market models in place to have like a really good guess to how to like what investment makes sense and which not, right? So we are in a unique position where we can say, hey, you know, there's this moon coin and we've done the research on it, and here's the market analytics, and here's all the calculations, and it shows we should do it. And we can show to investors that it actually makes sense, and we can like do it in a professional way. So we can mine altcoins, and we do also mine some with GPU, but it's definitely not the majority of what we do. And our focus is really Bitcoin.
I see. That's interesting. Um, what's some advice that you wish you would have known starting out that you wish someone would have told you?
Yeah. Oh man. You know what? I think the biggest learning experience for myself personally, and probably also for most other miners out there, especially those that started as home miners that kind of scaled up, it's airflow management and fluid dynamics.
Hmm,
Now, it's a maybe it doesn't sound like that's the main point of mining. It all sounds like bits and bytes and blockchains and all this stuff, but no, all that stuff is taken care of, right? Bitcoin fixes that. You don't have to program that stuff. But if you're building data centers and you've got more than 10 machines inside, you'll have to start thinking about airflow, like where does the hot air go out? Obvious.
hmm,
And the more you have and the more dense you try to build, the more you try to reduce the cost and optimize your data center design to the miners that you'll put inside, the more interesting it gets. And
hmm.
there's all these fluid dynamics kind of calculations that you need, you know, mechanical engineers and so on to explain to you.
Really?
They're counterintuitive. Like, did you know that when air flows fast, actually the pressure of it is low? You'd think that it's high, right? That's why it's flowing fast. No, if air is flowing fast, then it means that the pressure is low and it will suck more air into it. Like, I don't know. It's every mechanical engineer will tell you this is obvious, but it's counterintuitive. And like for data center design, it means like, for example, if you have a if you have a lot of miners blowing in some direction, like blowing all their hot air in some direction, and the airspeed gets too high, you'll be pulling in air from the outside into your data center, there where you want to get it out. So there's a bunch of lessons learned that we've had
Yeah.
over the years.
I would have never thought of that. It's pretty interesting. So the airflow really impacts just how the whole ventilation works in the whole facility.
It's massive, yeah, yeah. The whole Bitcoin mines are almost always cooled with outside air, right? There's a huge difference between traditional data centers and mining farms because data centers are getting more and more cheap to build, and they have less and less like official requirements. And mining farms are getting more and more, like say, serious and not like just a roof built on top of a parking lot. Like they're getting more professional, but there's still a huge gap between data centers and mining farms, which will not be possible to bridge because for example, there's redundancy of power, right? Mining farms don't have power redundancy because it's too expensive, like a second transformer, just in case the first one fails, it's too expensive. But data centers will always have it. And then you have, for example, cooling. Like data centers like to recirculate only internally the air and just like cool it with like cooling systems. And
Mm,
miners don't want to do that. Miners just pull the outside air in, push it through the miners, and then pull it straight back out. So
yeah.
miners have to deal with like the outside environment. You have to think like what happens if there's a snowstorm and the snow, you know,
Mm,
clogs the air intake and such. Yeah, airflow is the probably the most complex part of the mining farm that you have to get right.
cool. So recently with the recent price action and stuff, we've seen like a lot of retail get into crypto and mining. And some of them have actually taken up interest in mining, just from like videos, like with the Helium miners, GPU miners, with Ethereum. So what would you say like a beginner should understand? What are the key like fundamentals that a beginner should understand if they wanted to consider mining?
Yeah, I mean, I would still recommend beginners to GPU mine and not to ASIC mine because ASICs are just not very home friendly. Like they're very expensive to get. Like currently, you can easily pay like $10,000 for an ASIC because of the very high
Mm,
chip prices and very high miner prices right now. So it's a very big risk take. And then after, it can be hard to resell it depending on which part of the world you're at because the pricing of these ASICs is extremely dependent on the current Bitcoin price and the mining profitability. So if you're just experimenting and you know you're going to get something wrong sooner or later and so on, you probably don't want to have such a big risk. It's much better to just mine with a graphics card that actually has also uses outside of mining. And then you could like buy a card, even if it's overpriced, like right now all graphic cards are overpriced, just buy one. You can maybe mine back, half of what you paid for, and then you can probably still sell it for a profit. It's probably still a good idea right now to do it. That's why no one can buy the cards, because it's so profitable, to be honest. But I think it's a nice idea, because it really shows how miners are not like magic machines. They're just computers. And what we're dealing with here, Bitcoin, it's not some kind of magic money-making machine, right? It's just software. And if you're still experimenting and you're seeing how it's all connected and you want to mine your own coins and do some transactions with them and so on, that's great. That's really cool. But I don't think it's necessary to take such a huge risk when you're getting into it.
And so, like, what do you think the future of proof of work mining is, like, as far as like GPU mining? Where do you see that in the future, and where does it make sense for a project to have proof of work versus proof of stake algorithm?
Yeah, it's a good question, because there's a lot of people really waiting for proof of stake, and we all are, right? And the Ethereum guys have been the most promising creator of proof of stake for a long time, and everyone's waiting for them. There's other proof of stake systems, but there's not too many that are actually like battle tested and actually decentralized and don't centralize into a couple of nodes, or aren't centralized blockchains to start from, like EOS, for example. So really, Ethereum, if it works, Ethereum 2.0 is going to be the first, where I would say, proper proof of stake coin, where everyone agrees, yes, this is proof of stake, and this worked or this didn't work. And I'm really looking forward to it too. Right now, it's not a no-brainer to say proof of stake will come. It is better. It is, more energy. It is more energy efficient, but you can't say that it makes it better, right? Because, for example, let's say it's really energy efficient, but it centralizes much, much, much more. And in the end, there's like 3 big banks that control Ethereum now. I don't know, how much is it worth to us, that the decentralization part? The Bitcoin believers say it's worth to us quite a lot. And even if the current power usage of the Bitcoin network is like, I'm not quite sure, what is it? 0.2 or 0.3% of the total worldwide electricity consumption.
Yeah.
I'm also one of the believers. I say it's worth it. And if this gives us the safety and the security in the network that we need, and the decentralization to have a currency that's managed by the people and is not kind of influenced by just a couple of commercial entities, then that's the price I'm willing to pay. For me, I think it's okay. So of course, if there was a foolproof proof of stake that just like works and everyone agrees it works, let's use it. No worries. But I'm seeing this proof of stake from Ethereum still as an experiment. We're still waiting for it to actually work and properly show its power. And there's nothing being lost by keeping your eggs in different baskets, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
To not rely on it 100%.
Yeah, that's a good point. So where do you see what aspects of the industry are like most exciting to you? Like what innovations or ideas or projects are you seeing that are kind of most promising and most exciting, doing innovating things?
Yeah, I think exciting is a difficult word, because everything's very exciting, and many things are like exciting for 3 months, and it turns out, oh, it was all a scam. And this has happened often enough with the crypto ecosystem. Each of these hypes that we've had, like every 2 to 3 years, there's always been a main center point of it, right? 2013, it was the ICOs and the altcoins. Sorry, just the altcoins. In 2017, it was the ICOs, where everyone was doing these initial coin offerings. Now 2020, we've got the institutional investors and now NFTs and so on. I don't have too much trust in any of that stuff, to be honest. Maybe I'm a bit of a crypto grandpa and just like grumpy about all the new kids doing cool stuff. But I don't know. If I was a grandpa like that, I'd never admit it, right? So no, I'm closer to the fundamentals. I think Bitcoin is exciting enough on its own. You don't need to be buying into the newest hype coin that a friend recommended to try to make more money. It's more important to understand the technology and make money if you've invested in something that is a long-term sensible product. However, there's one exciting thing it's been exciting for a long time, and I'm still very excited about it. I think the anonymity coins are very much an overlooked player right now in the market. Right, we've got a handful of them. You know, the Monero is the most known, Zcash is the most secure, as far as I know, and then there's some other ones that you can maybe call anonymity coins, like a Beam, a Grin, and there's some others that have like Dash that have like iffy privacy guarantees, but at least they try. I think they're very much overlooked right now. The institutionals don't go into them so much because they just want to go into something safe and like something that offers privacy and anonymity. You know, they're talking to regulators a lot, and they maybe think that might raise an issue, so they don't even touch those coins.
Mhm.
However, Bitcoin, don't forget, Bitcoin is completely public. Every transaction you do, the person that's receiving the transaction can see where it came from. If you send your, I don't know, the kid of your neighbor $10 for mowing your lawn, the kid can find out how much money you have just by looking where the transaction came from. I mean, come on, right? Who actually wants this? No, I think if there's going to be another like serious like revolution or like another one of those hypes that everyone's always waiting for, I've got some trust in that it's going to be privacy related. At the very latest point when people actually start using Bitcoin, because right now, let's be honest, no one's really using it that much, right? But if people start using it and it actually becomes like accepted for like big purchases or international transfers or all those nice things that it's good for, or over the Lightning Network for micropayments or anything you want, people are going to find out, hey, wait a second, we've got a privacy nightmare here, you know, but Bitcoin isn't anonymous at all. And with like all these big data collection and aggregation schemes that we've got from large companies, there's no anonymity left. No, there's going to have to be a going back to the privacy aspect. And I think the other coins are going to play, like the ones I mentioned, could play a role in it. There's also another chance of Bitcoin with the Lightning Network to have anonymity features built into Bitcoin as a second or third layer solution. But I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the privacy aspect is overlooked right now, just because people are still kind of getting warmed up to the idea of crypto and understanding it. But I think, you know, once it gets more use case, people are going to realize, oh, you can see how much money I have in my wallet.
Yeah, once you actually have to deal with it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so, like on the flip side, what are some great use cases of blockchain in the real world that you've seen so far? Like, even if it's like NFTs or remittance payments in like third world countries, what are some cool applications that you've seen so far, or things that you think people don't do enough of?
You know, I think a really revolutionary thing that you can only do with crypto, and this is really amazing. Get this, payments on a Sunday. I don't know how it is in the US. I'm in Germany. The banks close on Saturdays and Sundays. You can't send someone money on a Saturday or Sunday. Just let that sink in for a second. I mean, it's a pretty basic argument, but like, really? Yeah, it's really like this. There's no, and if there's a public holiday, there's also no transactions on a public holiday. I guess the computers need a holiday, you know, 30 times a year or something. I don't know. What I'm really excited about as a use case for Bitcoin is just it becoming more widespread for actual payments. People shouldn't just see it as an investment. If it's an investment, that's fine, not a problem. It's a great store of value. That's wonderful. But the next step for it to be is not just a store of value, but a means of value transfer, right? And it's maybe fine if people use it first of all for just use cases where there's no good competition. For example, international payments, right? Or like remittance, which is also just the same. Or maybe some large transfers that you don't want someone to take 2% fee on some really large payment, like $1 million or so.
Yeah.
Or something that you don't want to be able to reverse. Like, I'm not sure, like industries have these issues all the time. Like if you're buying shoes from your neighbor, maybe you want it to be reversible, whatever, but there's many use cases where you want to have the cryptographic proof that it can't be reversed. And that's what Bitcoin is for. However, let's not forget that even though the transaction fees are going through the roof and everyone's talking about how it's impossible now to send Bitcoin transactions, this problem was talked about already in what was it? I think 16 was the big block size debate, right? This was all discussed. It was a huge thing in the Bitcoin community. Like, how should we deal with scalability? And the result is the Lightning Network. So I'm surprised. Even people that know a lot about Bitcoin have no idea about the Lightning Network. And I was going to mention it by name here for any viewers that maybe are looking for the next thing to Google. Google Bitcoin Lightning Network, and it's not a new coin. It's actually Bitcoin, just like an addition on top of it, making it instant transactions for free possible. So it really solves most problems, and also the scalability problems that, for example, Ethereum is having with smart contracts getting too expensive, and a miner extractable value, which is basically miners just being dishonest and doing things for their own economic gain. All these kinds of things with now fancy names, Lightning Network just kind of fixes it. So I encourage everyone to have a better look at that.
Yeah, I haven't heard too much about projects building on a Lightning network. I know there was the one remittance payment example. I think it's Jack Mahler's. I think that's his name. He's a Lightning network developer. So in El Salvador, they've made like an app where you can accept remittance payments, and it's done over the Lightning network. So that's the one example I've seen. But yeah, that was a pretty good one.
That's great. Yeah, the only Lightning app I know is it's Lightning Roulette. It's like an online gambling thing. It's like it's very basic. You can send Lightning to the website, it instantly arrives. You can send 50 satoshis, so a tenth of a cent or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can start playing roulette, and it's provably fair. So they use cryptographic like blockchain data to generate the random numbers needed. So you can prove that it's fair. And I've lost at least 100 satoshis there very happily.
Yeah, cool. What would you say are the biggest threats to crypto and mining? So, like over the last few days, we saw that China was banning any financial firms that are doing anything related to crypto. So, whether it's facilitating crypto to fiat or fiat to crypto, those are all kind of banned in China. So, what do you think? Playing devil's advocate, what do you think would be other movements that could disrupt or threaten the industry?
Yeah. I don't think that the Chinese government is too dangerous, or I don't think that any government is too dangerous actually, because the whole point of Bitcoin is that it's decentralized and it can't really be stopped. So the Chinese have their firewall. Maybe they can block people using it, which is horrible, but they can't destroy the idea. And there was all these news. China is banning Bitcoin has led to so many market crashes. It led to the 2013 collapse, or was it January 2014? Anyway, it led to the collapse back then, where it's like Bitcoin started crashing after a big hype. It was another big factor in 2017 when they said, "Oh, China's now really banning it," and they're banning ICOs, and they crashed. And now I don't take it too seriously, because the Chinese government is not like one unified system. Like often they're translating press reports just from one little region that's saying "Oh, we have to crack down on mining a bit more," and then the Western media reports China bans Bitcoin. Or something. Or what also happened is they had to crack down on people stealing electricity, like they were throwing wires up on the transmission lines and mining with it. And they said, okay, now we really have to do something about this. We have to stop these miners. It was translated as China bans mining and shutting down mining farms. So I don't know. And no, so what do I see as a threat to mining and crypto? I see as a threat actually the very loud voice of many people that are very passionate environmental activists, and really power to them. Really, I'm completely in the same boat, but calling Bitcoin destructive to our environment and calling Bitcoin mining like a capitalistic cash grab by the evil rich establishment or whatever. And I don't like this at all, because it's just not true, And even for the power that Bitcoin does use, it is mostly clean power, right? Because miners like the cheap power. Actually, cheap power is the clean power. That's the thing that people don't get. They think that the cheap power is the coal, and the coal is the environmentally bad one. The problem is that coal is not the cheapest one. The cheapest is solar, wind, and hydro, and that's where all the miners are going. Because you're in an international competition with all the other miners. The cheapest miner gets the most rewards. So it's a race to get to the renewable energies. It's a race to fully utilize renewable energies, to take off the power spikes from areas where the network is not well balanced. It's a race to go to power that's no one using. For example, gas flaring in mining, in oil wells. They just flare away the gas because it's too expensive to transport it. there's Bitcoin miners there now. They're using the power. I heard a really good quote the other day. Bitcoin miners are power users of the last resort. Like if no one else will take the power, you'll find a miner. And they're not taking power away from any populated area or so. They're not driving up prices. I really don't see the impact as high as people like to paint it in some articles.
So kind of seems like the common issue that we've seen, like, you know, with Elon Musk being super active on Twitter too, is just the biggest threat is like just big online influencers and their opinion, like just influencing way too many people to have, you know, one perspective about Bitcoin and thinking it's bad or think it's going to crash or think it's bad for the environment, stuff like that. That does seem like it could be a threat, like, you know, in the future if it's multiple people doing it.
Yeah, I don't want to call influencers a threat because these people are talking and they're passionate, right? They mean what they're saying. They're not being like paid by some evil person to spread fake news. I really don't think so. No, the promise is just misinformation, and the way to combat it is with education, right? So there shouldn't just be angry demonstrations and fighting on the street. No, there should be proper debate, and every side should have its good arguments and should be listening to the others. And if that's the case, then it must move in the right direction, right? Because if knowledge will spread, people will hopefully get more educated. But everyone has to want to look at the debate. If you're just in your kind of your news bubble, with nowadays in the social media is so easy, just people reposting their friends' news articles and stuff like this, you never hear the outside opinion. Not many people actually have the vigor to go out there and Google for like, why is my opinion wrong? And then trying to find an article which actually convinces them. But that's what you have to do if you really want to get down to the bottom of the truth. Yeah.
Mm.
And that mining is like bad for humanity and it's kind of an evil cash grab, and Bitcoin is just a scam and people are getting rich by printing it. That's the exact opposite of what it's trying to achieve, right? The Bitcoin movement is also very, very it's also very, very passionate, and it's also very fundamental in its kind of core beliefs, right? The idea is like, that everyone should be in control of his own, against the evil corporations, against the evil banks, no money printing, like no control of the government over how we transfer value around the world and how we measure value. Like these are very, very fundamental, very strong beliefs that come from the cypherpunks from the 80s and 90s. And now that's being countered with kind of a very similar movement saying, hey, we shouldn't destroy our environment, and we shouldn't use evil industrial technology to destroy our planet. And it's like, hey, wait a second, that's what we're trying to do too. Like everyone's trying to do the same thing, but they got the different perspective on the same topic. It's very sad.
Yeah, I agree. I think Bitcoin just has a marketing issue. It's just like a branding issue.
And it's the problem with these free things, right? If it's free, who's gonna pay for marketing? So maybe it's the same problem with the Lightning Network, you know? Like it's great, it's wonderful, it solves all kinds of problems. Now Elon Musk is saying that he wants to make Dogecoin more scalable. Come on. Anyway, no, it's the same problem with Lightning. Like there's no one out there to market it because it's open source free technology.
So one of my last questions here is, what's the thing that you're paying attention to, you know, with your perspective in the mining industry? What's the thing that you're kind of keeping an eye on or paying attention to that others might not be? So what's something that you kind of forecast that other people kind of don't think about as much as far as the whole crypto space?
That's a good question. I think there's a lot of time spent for me just trying to catch up with what other people are thinking about and forecasting. You can read infinite amount of material online.
Yeah.
Very smart people having very good ideas and gathering news together in very nice formats that are just like give you a great overview. I'm very happy for all those community resources. And I'm really thankful for the crypto community on Twitter. Is a word for it, right? There's crypto Twitter, which is the crypto bubble in the Twitter universe. It's amazing, amazing people. I suppose my contribution to this whole thing and my maybe a bit unique perspective on it is the large scale mining, right? Because the large scale miners are getting bigger, the small scale miners are getting smaller or fewer. And obviously, it's obvious market economics that Bitcoin mining will centralize more and more. It doesn't mean that it will become centralized, but there'll be fewer amount of entities mining in certain regions in the world. It's still, if it's geographically distributed and there's at least, let's say, 5 companies or so, I think it's completely fine. Like that's fine for a decentralized network. It's not distributed, right? We're not distributed, we're only decentralized. It's an important difference. So that's fine, but it's really interesting to see how these hotspots of mining are kind of consolidating and who's getting there. The deals being done on the high level between the large miners buying up the small miners and moving to the right regions. And there's, for example, very interesting developments going on, like the Chinese are trying to move out of China because of the capital controls in China, because of the high cost actually in China. China's not so cheap. And they're trying to move out, and we've got like these new places like Texas, which has now been for 2 years or so, like a big hotspot, and Kazakhstan, a great place that no one really thought about very much at all, and now it's a hotspot in mining, for example. Or the Nordics, like Iceland, like who thought about that Iceland would become an important part of the data center landscape for Bitcoin mining, but there we are. So there's some really interesting hotspots, and I love keeping up with the people and seeing all these developments happening.
Cool. What does the adoption of these protocols look like, would you say, in like the next 5 to 10 years? Like, what would it take for it to actually get mass adoption? As far as like most of these crypto projects and what they're aiming for, like, what do you think it would take for like the average person to actually adopt these protocols and projects?
Yeah, it's well, I think first of all that most crypto projects out there are complete scams. I'm not going to say it in a more nice way. Most out there are complete scams, and there's many more that are not scams, but have like honorable ideas, but are just really bad ideas, or just actually ideas that are maybe nice, but just no one cares and they fail. So I really think that if you're looking for which coin to invest in, which will be bigger than Bitcoin in 3 years, I wouldn't bet on a single one. Maybe Ethereum is a great counterpart to Bitcoin because it represents completely different values, right? Ethereum represents the on-chain, like maximum on-chain functionality, while Bitcoin represents the idea of maximum modularity and security of the basic layer and decentralization. So I think those are two very good competitors to each other, and they have a great way to coexist as they currently are. But I think both of them haven't reached mass adoption. Why? Because it's a chicken egg problem, right? There's no one that needs them, there's no one that uses them, so there's no one that buys them. So they're only being used, or mostly being used as investment vehicles, or you could also call it store of value. People are hoping that the value goes up and it's not just stored. So I'm not sure if people are using Bitcoin yet as an inflation hedge. I think they are getting into it. What I think it's a natural process, right? That the more people use it, the more people will use it. And the more people and investors go into it, the more stable the price will get. Right? You think if more people go into it, the price will just skyrocket more and more. Maybe in the first phase, yes, but if you've got more and more investors and institutionals and so on going in there, and they'd be happy with earning 5% per year or earning 10% per year, that's how they're going to be trading it also to reach that kind of goal. And the more money's in it, the more stable it will get. And with stability will come more consumers coming in as a store of value, or just following their favorite companies going in. And from there, and I think we have a chance to get into the retail market where people actually use it for payments. Then again, I don't know. I'm fine paying in Germany with euros also. Like I don't have a big need to use Bitcoin. Like let's be honest, like why? So I really see it getting much more adoption for now as a store of value. And then just out of convenience, people would use their store of value also to send it around. Like why would you trade it to euros just to make a payment and then the recipient puts it back to crypto for safekeeping? It's like what? Like just let's just send Bitcoin straight away. And maybe that's the way how it'll actually enter the society.
Yeah, I think personally that it'll be through DeFi, just because there's so many, like there's a lot of good projects that are already kind of implementing with banking apps, like mostly in third world countries. But I do think that that's going to be one of the ways that it gets mass adoption, because it's also like you wouldn't even know that it's DeFi blockchain running under the hub. for the most part for some of these projects. So I think the way it'll come in is like stealth, in a stealthy way. People won't know that they're actually using blockchain and interacting with DeFi stuff.
That's a great point. DeFi, yeah. I love the DeFi. All these exchanges, all these centralized things, they're so horrible things. And there's books, but like I really enjoyed the book from Michael Lewis, Flash Boys. Great thing. It's about like high frequency trading, about how centralized trading brokerages, and it's just crazy what goes on in the traditional world. Let's say it's crazy. I think DeFi is just such an obvious thing. Like let's create a decentralized eBay and just trade with each other. Like it's such an obvious thing. We're just waiting for the right time for it to take off.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna close up with some random questions, just totally throw you off topic. First one, what's your favorite candy?
Candy?
Yeah.
Haribo.
Haribo?
Do you have it in America?
That's the gummy bear, right? That's the gummy bear brand? Haribo?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
Better. Kinder Pinguin. I'm not sure if you have this in America, but it's amazing. It's like a chocolate bar with cream inside.
Oh, that's like Kinder Eggs. I think that's like Kinder Eggs for us. We got the Bueno.
The eggs with a little toy inside.
Yeah.
The
that same brand, they have Kinder Bueno bars. I think that's a similar one that you're talking about.
Oh man, yeah, great stuff.
What was the last emoji you used?
Emoji. Oh man. I've got two favorite ones right now. Two favorite ones. The one is the shrug. This one.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's great. It's an answer to anything. And the other one, they added the hand. I think it's a new addition to emoji since this year. They added this emoji. It's a very good one.
Those are your last two.
The Italian hand is called, yeah.
Cool. And then last one, how do you relax after like a hard day of work?
Oh man. I ordered a graphic card. Now I'm mining also at home. So I'm mining at work and I'm mining now at home. Maybe that was a really bad idea. But otherwise, I try to get some time for some games in there sometimes. Like I used to be a pretty good Call of Duty player.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to compete anymore. But
what are you playing now?
Sometimes I find a nice, relaxing game, and then I'm looking forward to Diablo 2 Resurrected.
Oh, true. I haven't tried that one. Yeah. Are you an Xbox guy or a PlayStation?
Oh, never had a console. My parents never got me a console. I was playing on Mac back in the day. That was very sad days. And then I bought myself a Windows computer, and since then I've just been gaming on computer.
Okay, so PC guy.
Yeah.
Okay, man. Well, thank you again for your time, Philip. It's been great. Where can our listeners like find you online? To follow you and just keep up with all things mining.
Yeah. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. The usual. No, I actually I haven't been so active lately, but I'll get back into it. I've got a Twitter. I think it's Philip Salter _ because Philip Salter was taken. Figures.
Yeah.
And like I post some mining insights there sometimes. Like I try to do like short videos explaining some topics, like beginner friendly way, but maybe interesting topics that are going deeper than just scratching the surface. So if you're interested, scroll through, give me a comment what you're interested in, and I'll get back into it again. I've had a pause now for a couple months.
Awesome, man. Okay, well, I appreciate your time again, and hopefully you can meet again in the future sometime.
That's perfect. Thanks a lot, Hector. Have a great time.
All right, thanks. You too. Peace.